Welcome, my name is Jamie Hipp. I'm the Go Pastor here at Highland. Today we're going to be sharing with you the first of 3 episodes to bring you up to date with our global partners. The first episode is going to include an interview with our partners in North Africa. We will not include their names in the interview due to them living in a location where it is not secure, as it is sometimes hostile towards the gospel. At the end, please hang around so that you can hear more opportunities about how to serve, how you might join short-term teams going, and how you can specifically pray for our people in those lands.
All right. Well, some of these questions actually were similar to what, so I'll just kind of ask them sounding a little more formatted as if we were interviewing, but kind of similar to some things we've been walking through. But, here we've been thinking about throughout this season what things have looked like. So for you there, like kind of what's this season look like for you, family being there, kind of how's that, look different from normal day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting, obviously, for all over the world. I mean, the past 3 months have been kind of unprecedented in all of our lives. But so around early March, when things started really picking up in Europe with the virus, they pretty quickly in our country jumped on things and shut down the borders and shut all restaurants and shut all the schools. Like it was like right when things started going in Italy, like rapidly spreading there, they really quickly shut everything down. And here it's a little different than like in America, where people are sort of used to having a little more freedom and a little more say in what happens. Here it's people are very they're very comfortable just kind of generally submitting to authority. So it's been interesting to see, like, on the news and talk to people in America versus where we are. Just because it's very different response. Like here, people is like, no, we need to stay inside. We don't need to do anything. We need to try and stop this virus, and they've been very willing to be compliant. So it's been interesting to see, but it's been exciting in other ways. Literally the day they did the lockdown, where they quarantined everybody, kind of made everyone stay in their homes unless they had a reason to go out for shopping or medical reasons. We had our own medical reason to go outside. So my wife is here with me, and she can explain a little bit about, because she was very involved in the medical reason why we had to go outside the first day.
Yeah, so about, I guess, 5 days before this happened, my mom arrived because we had the impending birth of our 4th son, well, our 4th child, our 3rd son. But anyway, she arrived
from Texas, by the way.
From Texas, yes, right before the day before they shut down the border. So that was a huge just answer to prayer, and just a huge grace from God for that to happen in such perfect timing. About 5 days after she arrived, that's the first day they, really did the lockdown here, where nobody was leaving the house and everything. And people at that point were taking it very, very seriously. So there was just nobody. Well, I started to go into labor. So that morning, I guess the little guy, didn't like the lockdown idea, so he decided he was going to come on into the world. And so we headed to the clinic that morning and had a, pretty quick and easy as far as births can go. And we were home by that afternoon. They were really interested in getting us out of the clinic just so that we wouldn't be exposed, unnecessarily. So sure. There was really no complications. Everything went great. It was a huge answer to prayer. And yeah, so that was his entrance into the world.
And now he's a few months old, and
he's almost 3 months old.
He's barely left the house now. So, but it was a huge blessing, even the leading up to it. Like just we've never had a child. We've had some complications with other pregnancies, and we've never had a child in the country where we serve. And there were some questions about, is the healthcare going to be suitable? Is it going to be enough for what we need? And it ended up being a great experience, really positive. Doctors, nurses, everybody, really good. And there was debate about whether we might end up in Spain, which we would have left before the virus sort of shut everything down, and we would have probably still been stuck in Spain. Wow. or sent back to America possibly. So just really thankful that we're able to stay in our country, stay healthy, good pregnancy. And so, yeah, those first few weeks and even leading up to now, we've had a little bit of a distraction with getting
Sure.
used to having baby number 4, and that has been nice to have plenty of time to spend with the kids
Sure.
and with the family, and getting adjusted to that. So yeah, it's been good.
Well, so have you pretty much, as far as the kind of quote unquote lockdown, has it been like you can get out like for certain things, or you know what I'm saying? Like, has it pretty much been at home, or has there been limited interaction? When you go out, I don't know, I'm assuming to grocery shop or whatever, or kind of what's that look like as far as kind of the lockdown side of it?
Yeah, so in that first day and even the first like couple of weeks, everyone was taking it very seriously. And they started each neighborhood here has kind of a it's not really a mayor, but kind of like a little, I guess, district regional leader, neighborhood leader. And they passed around to every apartment building little papers that they had signed, and one person from every household could sign the paper and say that they were the household representative to go outside. So in theory, only one person from every household was supposed to go outside for things like grocery shopping or getting medicine from the pharmacies, or obviously if there's a medical emergency, obviously you can take care of that.
Sure.
Anybody can, but everyone was taking that.
Any other stores, restaurants, everything else was closed. So there really wasn't much reason to go out other than to be out in the beautiful weather,
Yeah.
Right.
But so honestly, John has been the only one to leave our apartment, now going on right at almost 3 months, except for doctor's appointments, which I've had several with the new baby, and I had to take 2 of our kids to get vaccinations, but one of our kids has not left, poor thing, the whole 3 months. And then my mom has not left either. She did come with me to take the kids to get the shots, but other than that, only John has left to get the groceries and medicine from pharmacy. So it's
yeah,
been pretty serious.
90, I think we're approaching 90-ish days with the 4 little kiddos under 7 and 3 adults. So it's been in a small apartment. So it's not a small apartment, but in an apartment. So
Sure.
the weather has been beautiful outside. It's like, man, this should have happened in the winter, like seeing this gorgeous weather outside. But yeah, so people took it very seriously, and now it started to
wear off.
Loosen up a little bit.
In the last couple of weeks, I think people have kind of started to think, okay, we're kind of done with this. Like, we see a few more people outside, but really up until then, it was very strict seeming. And I think really in this kind of the more outer neighborhoods that are much more crowded, I keep thinking about those people in those tiny apartments that we visited before. And a lot of times it's, just one main room and then maybe a bedroom off of that one main room, or maybe a kitchen off of that room, and just thinking about the large families that are in there. So anytime I start to get a little bit, wanting to complain or wanting to think about, the hardship that our family has experienced, thankfully the Lord just wipes that away with thoughts of those others that have it, way worse than us, when we have beautiful windows that we can open and at least get fresh air, and things like that. And so we're very thankful for that, and just for the safety of just the whole situation.
Sure.
There's one family that we ended up, actually a few weeks ago, we were able to deliver kind of some groceries and supplies to them. The husband works, he sells fish at a local market that's been shut down for the last 3 months, so no real income. But this family, we met them really just a few weeks before this lockdown began. We were able to be in their home and share the gospel with this family, and their whole all their kids were around, and but they've got 9 kids in this very small apartment. It's probably about the size of our living room, and maybe a little bit larger than our living room, but
yeah.
9 people staying in this really small place for 3 months. We're really been praying for them, and we were able to take them some food and to do. We've done a couple of other food kind of deliveries with partnering with local believers, being able to deliver some food to different people because, as is the case all over the world, a lot of people are out of work right now and not able to get just some of the basic things that they would need. So that was a huge blessing to be able to do some things like that and see their response. And I think, and just praying that it'll soften their hearts to the gospel. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So has it been where you guys are at now, and like you said, looking for, some of those seemingly smaller opportunities, but nonetheless, what he's going to do in and through those, is yet to be seen. But like day-to-day life, I guess, is it, like you said, people are getting out a little bit more, or, you know what I'm saying? Is there a little bit of a sense of returning to day-to-day life outside, or does it still remain pretty tight, just loosening up a little? Just curious what that what that looks like right now.
Yeah, it's definitely changing more and more. The government started opening up different like shops. They're encouraging shops to start opening and take,
restaurant takeout.
Yeah, doing restaurant takeout and loosening some of those things, making sure everybody's still taking precautions. So masks are still mandatory. That's been really interesting because they speak Arabic here. Most everyone, that's the heart language of the people here. And so we speak, we probably speak like children, but we speak Arabic as well. But we've realized how difficult it is to speak through a mask in Arabic, because I guess you rely on some of the facial and mouth cues of figuring out like what to say. And it's just like this muffled kind of Arabic communicating has been a little bit difficult. So that's going to be interesting to see when we start to go back to a little bit more normal, because a lot of what we do is in public, like whether it's at cafes or in parks or a lot of times also in people's homes. But how are people gonna feel? Because a lot of what we do again is relational, meeting people, engaging, talking, and social distancing isn't as easy to do in some of that relational type of ministry. So that'll be interesting to see how people respond after this kind of calms down a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess you guys have, I'm sure, experienced this as well. Here they're saying, masks are mandatory, but of course there's some people that still don't quite follow. But I know there in the States, it's kind of, there's just been some, discussions on, who's wearing masks and when should they wear and all this. And, it can be a little, some people, it makes you feel a little less approachable. Some people are a little, even especially children, they're just kind of concerned. It's hard to tell who is who, or just, looks strange to them. And so, I think there's something going on there too, emotionally, mentally, just with seeing someone in a mask. Like, how is that going to affect, communication, not just with the part of understanding language and cues, but also just kind of that response that we have as human beings. I mean, so much of what we say is our face and how we feel and all of this. And so that's going to be an interesting part of it too.
Like you said, it has been a mix. And I think that's what, for me, as I've talked to people like yourself and other countries around the world, is just how we are all experiencing something the same thing, but in such different contexts. And part of that's because we have to look to our government, to give us direction. And some of that just changes day to day, it seems like. Or, for us here, it's the CDC kind of changes things every 2 or 3 days. It seems like I heard one the other day of, should we even wear masks? What does that look like? It's like, oh, okay. So we're like y'all. It's like push forward as best you know how, but yeah, with open hands. That's how you have to make plans, and everything could just be wrecked in a moment, because they could extend something. And so it's been interesting. I think that we've had it not quite as bad here where we're located, but as some of the other areas, and not being super metropolitan, but, had a share of people, that were that way. And I think that's what led us, even as, being here and, amongst our friends, some of the things that we looked at was, so we've walked through this season and we've kind of learned what this new part of life looks like, and it's not going to return to what it was before. And, I found myself lamenting some things, that might not come back again. And then I've also seen some real beauty in that we've had to open our hands and go, what are things that need to continue, or what things need to restart, or what things, are going to be brand new for us. So that's what we were even talking through recently. So I don't know if y'all have kind of had some time to think about something like that, like what's something you feel like maybe the Lord's taught you in this season that you might, carry forward as you begin to like re-engage people, or just life in general. So I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. It's been such a strange time. I think one of the things that just right off the bat was started to be, becoming aware of was just some of the, uh, I guess idols that kind of get flushed or brought to
Yeah.
the surface in this time. I mean, I realized how I don't even think I'm not, I like sports. I'm not like a huge, like, I don't watch sports or follow anything like super closely, but how many times like throughout a week I'd be like going to ESPN and I was like, there's absolutely nothing to check on ESPN, and just all these little things throughout the week like that I realized I was filling my time with. I love to run outside. I like to go out for runs. I love to hike, and been shut inside. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are great things, but how quickly those can kind of become an idol, or at least how much they affect our lives. And so I think I've been reminded of those things, and of the Lord's goodness, and really seeking Him during this time in new ways. And then also just I think a new appreciation for those gifts that He does give us, for the beautiful creation, for being able to go outside, for exercise, for thankful for those gifts, and I think appreciate them in a new way. And I think kind of along those same lines, an appreciation for, Emily and I are both introverts, but I think there's there's a longing for being around other people, like talking to other adults, and especially on Sundays. We don't have a large church gathering that we're a part of. We meet in a house church, so it's just it's a pretty small group, 15 or so folks. But how much we miss just kind of that being together physically, like an online Zoom call or whatever does not replace that, being able to see one another, being able to laugh together. So I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons, is just an appreciation for being with brothers and sisters, and laughing together, being in the Word together, praying together. I think a deeper appreciation for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I think for me, something that has become just really apparent during this season is just a more tangible expression of just how little control that we actually have.
Yeah.
I think that, we can say God is sovereign, God is in control, I trust God. And I think at some, level we do when we say that. However, I think that we have, probably all of us there in Waco, and even here in North Africa, we have experienced that on a whole new level. We can't control everything, and God is in control. And so this has just been a more tangible expression of that, if that makes sense. He is the one that's working. He is the one that's doing the work. His work doesn't stop just because we can't go out the door. His work doesn't stop in Waco just because you guys have not been able to get together physically in a while. His work is continuing. And so I think it's a good time of just reflecting and reinstigating humility in my own heart, and hopefully in others' hearts as they're experiencing this as well, just that He is the one in control. He's the one doing that work. And we like to think that we're in control of things, but this has just shown us that we're not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally does. I think it's funny y'all say that, because I'm kind of a combination of both of what y'all just said. My response when we were kind of each sharing with one another, what that looked like for us, and that kind of is where I found myself. On the one hand, like y'all, I would say I lean towards the introvert side, but I can only take so much of that, I've realized, because I had a little desk set up in my corner of my bedroom, and that's where I lived out most of my days. But at the same time, like at some point I was like, this is just like almost killing me, because I just I had my family, of course, but I didn't have, people around me, and I'm having to email or Zoom call. And while I'm thankful for those things, there's just no replacement. And it also just reminded me of that. Like, I'm okay with that, spend that alone time in the way that I'm naturally wired, but also love just how much I love people. And in my role, that would hopefully go without saying, but I think it also is a reminder that we're not created to live in isolation. and in which the opposite of that would be living in community, right? And I think that's where for me it was like just longing to be back with people. I didn't care if it was one person or 12 in a room. I just wanted to be around people again. And so we got a little bit of taste of that in the last few weeks, and on Sunday we'll get the bigger taste of that when we can all gather once again on Sunday morning and throughout the day. So that'll be good. It's still limited, but at the same time, there's that side of it. And then being a type A person, I'm very planned in nature. And so, like you said, Emily, specifically, just the way that I've had to plan and prepare, and that's good and right. But at the same time, how I always have this picture, hopefully before the Lord, that my hands are open before him, just kind of visualize that, like this is yours, not mine. But man, how I think I have usually about 8 fingers closed and, 2 open. And so I can kind of understand like walking down that lane, and my most recent one, kind of to flesh that out, one morning I was just feeling off. And I think part of it was I couldn't like measure in some sense, like wanting to be like, so what did I really do the last few months? Like, okay, can I check those things off? Like how did I engage others, and what did I kind of crank out work-wise? And I was just having a moment where I'm like, I don't feel like the work of my hands, I don't feel like I did anything. And a friend with understanding replied back to me after I shared that and said, well, it's the work of the Lord anyways. It's not in your hands. And I'm like, nah, no, I get that, but I still want to see where I'm doing something. But, he gently, Lord gently reminded me and refreshed me in the fact that, this is his work. And if we look to, Acts 17, where it's talking about, him using us in the way that he does, but as if he needed us, but he chooses to use us. And so very thankful to walk in, like you said, that kind of forced humility in a really good way, that he is at work and it hasn't stopped. It's just looked very different. And so in a different way of explaining it, I guess I've kind of summarized a little bit of what y'all were saying, because I really feel like that's kind of where I found myself too. So it's been a good experience, and we're seeing if it's going to close. Right now things have loosened up here. And so, they've in general been saying you have to wait once something changes, you have to wait about 3 weeks to see what that means, to see if we're going to see like another spike or whatever. But for now, I'm like, that means we got a week and a half left, and I'm going to run hard for the next week and a half before we get shuttered again, But for now, it is opening up a little bit here. So at least in Central Texas. So, so anyways, yeah. So, well, what else have y'all done? I think I've seen some videos from the man of the house, rewriting some songs and things like that. What have y'all done as a family to keep yourselves sane?
Yes, so we do have. So our team here with us, we got about, I guess, 9 other Americans here on our team. Some of them actually have returned home during the States or during the virus kind of pandemic time. But so our team has shrunk a little bit, but we've been trying to just kind of keep everyone just in communication with one another. And so some on our team are a little more creative, so they've come up with some goofy ideas for us to do. So that's, we've done some song parodies and some a murder mystery, a few game nights. So we try to get together, a few times throughout the week, online. Online. We have prayer times throughout the week. We, like I said, we're doing house church virtually. So it's been good, but again, no replacement. And then, lots of Lego building.
Legos,
I've become a Lego expert.
Activities. I mean, we're talking ages. We've got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old. He turned 4 during the pandemic, so his birthday was in April. So he just turned 4, and then we've got a 1-year-old, and then we've got a new. He's almost 3 months now. So our hands are full with various activities throughout the day.
We've learned that with that age spread, there's not like one activity that like they can all do.
Totally.
You can get the 1-year-old and the 4-year-old kind of on the same page, or you can get the 4-year-old and the 6-year-old on the same page. There's no way to get like, obviously the newborn, he's just kind of doing his newborn thing, but it's been interesting, trying to be creative. And our oldest son, he is in a local school. He's in what would be the equivalent of first grade. It's a French speaking school. So we've become the French homeschool teachers, and that's been interesting and challenging, but Yeah, that's been good. And
Yeah.
Willie spends usually a couple hours every day working on that with him.
And his school goes through June, so we won't be done with that for another, 5 more weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole lot. And y'all have, like you said, the spread. We're similar in that we have, 2 of our 3 we can get on track, but our gap with the oldest, she's kind of doing her own thing. But I, in the same way, my son, I guess there's worse things he could be doing, right? I mean, he is just, I think his aspiration in life is to become a Lego master. So y'all know there's a whole show around that. Have y'all seen that?
No.
There is a show now that literally, you can look it up. I'm sure episodes like everything else are online. It's called Lego Masters.
Lego
And
Master.
these are adults, of course, but they're like two-person teams. So some like friends, some husband and wife, some just friends. The things that they give, and they'll be like, okay, here's your task to build this. You have 14 hours.
Wow.
But what's amazing, well, that's so long, the things that they build, unbelievable. And so like we laughingly use that phrase like Lego Master around our house, but these people, I mean, I just don't know how people's brains work that way. But my son's been that way just every day. I mean, usually it's, hey, no more technology, go outside or do something else, right?
Mhm.
Lately, Jenny's like, enough Legos, you need to go do something else. I don't even care what. She's probably saying, quit doing the Legos, get online and do something. Because he is just, he'll find something online. The best line so far has been, I've always asked him when he comes in with something, I'm like, did you find a builder that showed you how to do that online? Or like, did you create that? And the other day, his response to me was, well, I found this one online actually, and it wasn't good enough. And so I made my own. And I'm like, I love the creativity. I hate stepping on them, but I love the Legos for
Yeah,
this.
I
So
agree
he
with
and my
that.
daughter just being
Never
18
been a
months
truer
apart.
statement.
Just
Love the
love it.
creativity,
So,
hate the mess they make.
yes, I've never loved Legos more because of that. But it's kind of the same thing. 2 of our 3 we can get together. Our younger 2, but our oldest one, she's 13, so she's doing her own thing now. So it's been interesting. But we've been able to get out a little bit more, so that's made a difference. Even from when it's like, hey, you're quote unquote lockdown. It wasn't really as much lockdown as it was just try not to be out. But we encourage you to get out and exercise. Just don't gather. So. And I've only been at one event where the police actually broke us up. We had kind of a drive-through, parade. You probably heard those are a thing now, like parades through someone's house or whatever. And it was his birthday, and they had like this ice cream sandwich truck that's really big here that they come out and you could just get ice cream sandwiches. And everybody was kind of distanced by family, and it was like high five, or whatever, air high five. We saw the police rolling down the road, and anybody that had a mask put one on, and they were super nice. But they literally were like, you can't be together. And we're like, oh, we're just about to get our ice cream sandwich. They're like, well, let them go. You get in your car, and as soon as they're finished, you can get out and go get one.
Wow.
So they literally busted us up, but it's not like anybody got fined or anything. And they were super nice. My buddy whose birthday it was, they actually took a picture with him, And so it's like, with everybody's with masks on, you can tell the police are with him on his birthday. Yeah. So it's been pretty funny. But yeah. So anyways, that's kind of what it's looked like here. So we've been quote unquote lockdown just seems strong because we've still been able to get out. But like you said, our kids, bless their hearts.
Yeah.
I mean, we let them play outside, of course, but them getting an outing is getting to go pick up food from a place and come straight back home. So they've endured far worse than my wife. So it's been crazy in that regard. But anyways, let's see. All right. Well, I feel like I've been on script here, so I was going to see if there's anything else. I don't know, anything else you guys have had going on, and I don't know, you might want to share with.
Yeah, just to share a couple of different ministry things that some of our teammates have been able to continue during this time, just so y'all can be lifting them up. We have one teammate that she worked as a nurse in the U.S. Before coming over here on the field, and so recently, within the past 6 months, she's been able to actually, for the first time since living here, get connected with a couple of local clinics that would allow her to volunteer, use some of her nursing skills. And that has been amazing for her, just personally, professionally, just, getting to do what she loved so much before and getting to integrate that now with the new people and language that she loves. And so that's been really neat to see. And we weren't sure exactly how that would be impacted during this pandemic, but one of the clinics asked her, not to come for this, for right now. But the other one said they would actually love for her to continue coming once per week. And so she's been doing that. So that's been really encouraging to see just the conversations that she's been able to have and just the ongoing ministry that she's been able to do even through this lockdown time. In fact, all over the Arab world, we actually experienced Ramadan for a month during the lockdown time. And so that was kind of an interesting way to experience Ramadan, because in the past, of course, we haven't had this. And so we've done different celebrations and things with local friends. But during this time, everyone's just been at home. And so it was a different way to walk through that with our friends and neighbors here. And she really got to have a lot of really great conversations in the clinic time with nurses, with patients, with, just other workers there. And so, anyway, that's just been really cool. So y'all can be lifting her up and lifting specifically some nurses that she's been having conversations with. In addition, we have another, girls, I think they've been a little more communicative as far as our local friends. So we have some young ladies on our team that have been really keeping in contact over WhatsApp or on video chat or whatever with some of their, girlfriends. And so, with the extra time, there's been a lot of great conversations being had, and, opportunities to send passages from the Word that they're looking through and talking through, having time that they may not have had before because of work or school or whatever. And so that's been really neat to see that. So just be lifting up, those young ladies, if you guys think about it, just that the Lord would continue to open their eyes, and that they'd be continuing to be open to reading scripture and talking about it even after this is over.
Yeah, I think that has been a good, reminder, as Emily shared earlier, just about the Lord's sovereignty in this. And like, we can feel like, oh man, the work is stopped because we're not out there. We can't leave our house. We can't be with people. But knowing and it's something we always say, we know that it's the Lord is the one doing the work. But this, now we really have to trust. I mean, and know, and we can see, ways that He is at work completely apart from our own efforts when we can't, get out the door. He is still working and moving. And we did in March, we ran an ad, a Facebook ad. It was just a quick video clip. It was super simple, just a clip of Jesus, and it just asked people. We ran it here in our city on Facebook, asking people if they were interested in knowing who Jesus was and if they would like a Bible. And it was over 3,000 saw the ad, and then 187 filled out a form, saying that yes, they wanted a Bible in Arabic. And so over the last few weeks, it's been a great time of being able to with partnering with a local believer here, following up with people. And there's been some people that seem genuinely interested. I was just on the phone today with our local brother, and he was saying, yeah, this guy for the past 12 years, he's just felt whenever he's heard anything or about the Bible or seen something on television or on the internet, he's always just felt a peace and a comfort about it. So seeing that, the Lord and the work is not by any means hindered during this time, even though there's some unique challenges for us and from our perspective, He is not challenged or stopped at all. He is completely sovereign and working, not just in spite of these things, but even through these things, as people are kind of having questions about life and death and why is this happening and what is going on. So and we're praying that they won't find those answers because they aren't there in the faith system that they have here. There is no peace, there is no security, and so trusting that the Lord is working. So there's been some exciting things that the Lord has been doing, even though we've been sidelined a little bit more than normal.
Sure. That's terrific. And I think that's where, like you said, the fact that you can even get a glimpse of that, and seeing those things, because we, like you said, we do trust Him all the more. We would say that, but sometimes I know my heart, and maybe lacking a bit of faith, but just that He's still at work when we can't see those things. And I'm not sure who this is original to, but the old phrase of, when we can't trace His hand, we must trust His heart. And I think that's where, we were right in the middle of this and we kind of got plucked out, and all of a sudden, what's happening with this person or, in this relationship. And sometimes it's Him kind of removing us a bit so that He can do a different work that if we were there, we just don't know. But I think that's the way that He's very kind to us to show us, like you said, in the midst of that, to get a nurse into a place or to get this ad posted that maybe you were planning on that, maybe you weren't, but even the people who responded, maybe they wouldn't have responded in a different season. So I think that's where I've had to walk in the weight and what I do of just trying to feel, the heaviness in some ways, the pain, the things of, like you said, we're in a good spot where we're at in life and God's provision, but yet at the same time for others who have, much more difficult situations. But yet to see, what, I want to be thankful too, because he's working in ways, in some ways we'll see, in some ways we just trust him for. And so that's great to hear. I mean, just from the outside, from my side, I'm like, well, they're enduring pandemic just like we are, but at the same time, I know it looks different for everyone. But there are ways that we're usually engaged where we're not right now. And maybe we're engaging in a different way now. I don't know. At the same time, we are looking to that. So there's some great ways. Thanks for sharing those stories. And we certainly will be praying on those things from our side. For your family specifically, I mean, obviously new one in the house and house is multiplying and mom is there for a season. And so anyways, and I don't know, the next few days, weeks, month ahead that we can be praying for you specifically.
Yeah, I mean, definitely what you already said. I think the obvious things that jump out are, just our change in family situation, just how that's going to look with a new little one. And gosh, we're a full out traveling circus at this point if we're going to leave the house together. So that'll be interesting. We haven't quite done, we haven't done that yet. So we'll be experiencing that for the first time. What's that going to be like? I do think that we were thankful that we have gotten to stay here in our home in this country during this time, because I think even though we haven't seen our friends and neighbors, we're all walking through this at the same time. And I think once we get out, we'll have that shared experience to really, I feel like that's going to build some deeper relationships. The fact that, we're still here, we experienced with them, we had our baby here, like they're all anxious to see him, all this kind of stuff. So I think there's going to be opportunity for, all of a sudden, all of these reconnections. And so I'm, just for, I think, strength through that, because I think it's going to be difficult to try to all of a sudden reconnect with everybody. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this during the social distancing. I feel like I've experienced a little bit of emotional distancing. Like, I'm not sure how to talk to people anymore. What is it going to be like? How are we going to, continue ministry or just even regular conversations after this without fear or without, just not knowing what the other person has experienced or what they need or, all these different kinds of things. So I just think for those reconnections and just that the Lord would continue to move and that he would just, open eyes all across the city, open hearts all across the city. And we would see so many people just coming to him and surrendering to him, coming away from this time feeling that sense of, loss of control, and running to God for that. So
you can pray. Also, just definitely pray for us and for our team. As I kind of mentioned, 4 of our teammates did travel back to the States during this time. Some of them were already approaching kind of a transition point where their term with us in the city was already coming to a close. So it was kind of expected, but
Sure.
That's going to be a transition. That's going to be hard, and there's already been a little bit of heartache about what's team going to be like after with really essentially half our team back in the States. And for our business, it's a little bit I know it's a little bit confusing, but to live in the city where we live, in the country where we live, we can't be the M word that I can't say, but we can't obviously publicly be here as people who are working to plant churches and share the gospel like that. That's against the law legally. We can't be here doing that. So we have what some people refer to as a platform, but essentially what it is, we have a business, and some of the folks that had to leave, they were a critical part of that. They were teachers for our business. We do a preschool English classes around the city. And so we're just praying through and thinking through what is it going to look like next fall, hopefully, assuming the schools open back up. Is that going to be a viable, business that we can continue to sustain? So just prayers for that. And yeah, just want to say just super grateful for Highland and the blessing that your church has been to our team and to our family personally. I think it was maybe 4-ish years ago. John came out and it was a small team, and we first were kind of exposed to Highland, made aware of Highland, and Jamie, then you and Jeremy came out and just felt like really resonated with our team and kind of our vision for the work, and have sent multiple teams over the past few years, and just been awesome to see the fruit that's born out of relationships that were started through those teams that you have sent, and just even the support that through the prayers, just getting messages, every now and then. Jamie, you'll send a message, or Riley, you'll send a message, Philip, Joyce, Michelle. I mean, all these different people that have been through the relationships that we feel like we've kind of formed with your church, we're super grateful for their faithfulness in prayer. And then even, there's been even faithful in giving, like that Facebook ad and the follow-up that's been happening. That was actually funded by a former Highland member who they've moved to a different city now because of work stuff, but that was actually funded in part by their giving. So just thankful for just y'all's witness in Waco, and then y'all's faithfulness in partnering with us in planting churches and proclaiming the gospel here in North Africa. Super grateful for y'all.
Great. Well, it's been great to talk with y'all and to hear from you, to hear what God's been doing, even amidst this season that we all walk through seasons of life, and this is one globally that we're walking through. But your testimony and your insight into what he's continuing to do, even as your family is growing there physically with the new one, praise the Lord, but at the same time, his family and the greater kingdom is growing as well. So we're very thankful for that. But thank you for providing insight and spending some time with us to be able to share so that we might hear all that he's doing at the ends of the earth, but specifically there in North Africa. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for joining us for this first episode to hear more about our work in North Africa. If you would like more information, you can go to hbcwaco.org/missions. And join us next week for our next episode and interview with our partners in Taiwan.